This is a college, isn't it? Are you taught critical thinking? Well, then apply it. And if you apply it to me, apply it to him, apply it to everybody that stand up in front of you, because the world is being deceived by an arch deceiver. All right, I'm almost where I want to be. Are you tired? Oh, this man is a hater. Oh, don't be stupid. You're too intelligent to be stupid. If I were a hater, you could put me in the dustbin of history and leave me there. But what I'm telling you today, you will face it tomorrow and today. I want you to reason with me, and then I want you to study what I'm saying. Have you noticed that the Republicans and the Democrats can't agree on nothing? Except when it comes to Israel, and Netanyahu can come over here, you see the leader of the Republican, the leader of the Democrat standing together with Netanyahu. Is that a strange picture? That you can't agree on the welfare of the American people, but you can agree on what is in the best interest of Israel? Talk back to me. Now, I'd like to draw this to a close. Elijah Muhammad, following on the heels of the Honorable Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey knew that our future was not here. Our future was in a land that would be our own. God promised the children of Israel a land of their own. Now, since the earth is the Lord's, well, he can give it, some of it to you, if that's what he desires. Do you think you can build an economic future without land? Come on. Some of you from the deep south, at the turn of the century, our ancestors had millions of acres of land in the south. Today, we hardly have anything left. So through schemes, tax schemes, legal maneuvers, and our hatred for being sharecroppers and getting out of the South and want nothing to do with farming ever again, we let the land go. So they got it now. And here we are learning how to eat better food, but with no land of our own to produce it. Learning about economic development, but not having land as the basis of all economic development. I was on the radio last night with my dear brother Askia Muhammad, and Askia asked me a question. He said, many of our black intellectuals are upset because they want to know why you're putting out a book called The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews that is harming a relationship between us and our allies. No, that's a good question. I don't know whether you ever read The Prince by Machiavelli. I read it years and years and years ago. But Machiavelli said you have to be careful of who you want to coalesce and become allies with. Because if you're not careful and you unite from a position of weakness, then the strength of that which you're allied with will take you over. Now listen to this. I said, listen to me now, please. There is no black millionaire or billionaire who has achieved that wealth without the help of some members of the Jewish community. That's real. There would be no Jay-Z. There would be no Russell Simmons. None of our black entrepreneurs that have become successful could be that without pointing to a Jewish friend. All of our talented people in the 40s and the 50s, they had Jewish manager. When they crossed over, they had Jewish agents, Jewish accountants, Jewish record companies. They died broke with nothing to pass on to their children but their accountants, their agents, the record executives could give their children the best education to keep on building their companies at your and my and our expense. Have you turned on your TV lately and saw the goodies but the oldies, or the oldies but the goodies of all your great performers? How did Time Warner get ownership of everything produced by black people? And when you want to look at what happened in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, your favorite artists, you send your money to Time Warner. The black people that made those records, they may get a little bit, but the bulk of it goes to members of the Jewish community. They're strong. They're powerful. They're wise. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, study the white man. He is successful. They work together in a collective manner. You should do the same. Now let's wait now. Wait. Let's talk about our allies. Did you know that when the NAACP was created over 100 years ago, the founding fathers of it were mainly Jewish, with P.O.W.E.R, Ralph Bunche, and a few others? Did you know that for at least 40 years or more, 50 years, maybe 60 or 70 years, there never was a black president? All the blacks that stood in front of you and me were executive secretaries. Roy Wilkins was the last, I think, great executive secretary. But after that, we had black presidents. See, as Jewish people realized you awakening, and it was really Malcolm X who pointed out that they were the author of the civil rights movement. They were the author of CORE and SNCC and SCLC. We black folk wanted to see our people free. We wasn't talking integration. We were talking liberty. But when their money got in, they started directing it. See? So we sat in, we crawled in, we waded in, we laid in, we prayed in, we died in, and finally a civil rights law was passed. I want to show you this enemy. While Martin Luther King was sitting in the Oval Office with Lyndon Baines Johnson signing or watching him sign the legislation, in another part of the government, they were planning his assassination. Martin Luther King was more than I have a dream. Martin Luther King was evolving into a great thinker and leader that we were robbed of. They hated him, but now they can give you thoroughfares. See, they kill your man, then call him, this is Martin Luther King Boulevard. That's very nice. But you would be better with the white man's name on it if you had Martin Luther King's brilliant evolutionary thinking. Now watch this, watch now, watch. Martin Luther King, according to what Harry Belafonte told me, near the end of his time among us, may God be pleased with him, and I'm sure he is. Martin was with his inner circle, and they were very joyous, but Dr. King was very sad. And Harry Belafonte went over to him and said, he said, Martin, why are you so melancholy? And according to Harry Belafonte, Dr. King said, I fear that I'm integrating my people into a burning house. Now wait. He was hoping that maybe we could put the fire out. You could if it were not started by God. But if the house that is on fire, the fire was ignited by God, then there's nothing any of us can do to put that fire out. Now, it's not a literal fire, but here's the way the fire starts. After 400 years, I will come. What will you do when you come? I'm going to raise them up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto Moses. And I'm going to put my words in his mouth, and he will speak unto them all that I shall command him. I want you to listen to me. See? Look at Jesus. When you read the Gospels, see, you're reading Jesus giving parables. That's the Jesus of yesterday. But the Jesus that is the actual Messiah, when they asked him, he said, whatsoever the Father bids me to say, that I say. And whatever the Father bids me to do, that I do. If you look in the Quran, the prophet of the Quran is given words to say. And when they say that, you say. See, it's Muhammad that fulfills. Oh, yeah. Wait, I ain't got there yet. Muhammad of 1400 years ago was also a sign of the man like Moses. The Muhammad that comes at the end of the world. Muhammad is Jesus, and Jesus is Muhammad. Now I'm going to prove it. Now you don't have to study. You're going to have to study. Jesus of 2,000 years ago was hated by the Jews of that day. Can I get a witness? Yes, sir. Yeah. And your Jesus is hated by them too. Listen, just listen. Just listen. Moses had an impediment of speech, so he was coming before God in a state of weakness, asking God, well, I can't go before Pharaoh because I got a problem with speech. Could you give me my brother Aaron? And God said, okay, but who made your mouth? Don't worry about how you speak. I made your mouth. But I'm giving you Aaron, but I'm giving it to him to you for another purpose, not out of your weakness, thinking you need him, but out of my love for you and the people. I'm giving you a person that you will be to him as a God. And he will be to you as your prophet to the people. Now look, you either gonna fulfill it or the Bible and the Quran don't mean nothing. It's not a book for yesterday. It's a book that's being fulfilled right in front of your face. All right, here we go. Here we go. The Quran in the 20th surah says it a little different. Moses is praying for a helper. And he says, oh Allah, grant me a helper, an aider from my family, that and remove the knot from my tongue, that they may understand my words and expand for me my breast. See? If you notice, Jesus in the beginning, it was a very narrow assignment. Go ye not in the way of the Samaritans, but go ye to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. This is why I'm in trouble today, because the house of Israel is what you're living in. It represents the entire white race, and you are their children, the children of Israel. Now let's prove it. Whose name do you wear? Come on. Is it your father's name or white folks' name? Johnson, Jones, Smith, Brown, Green, Crow, Buzzard, Flea, Fly. See, the white man was named after the creatures of God. You are from God and should wear the names of God. But you got your slave master's name. Who made you a Christian? No. Let's look at it. For 300 years, the Bible was locked against black people. And any one of us that was taught to read would be beaten or killed. Oh, I'm sorry, baby. I meant to wake up your parents. I'm almost where I want to go. Just be patient with me a few more minutes. Dear family, listen. We are like their children, and they treat us like that. You have to beg them for everything you want, like a child asking his parent. Massa, you got a job for me, Massa? Massa, will you let me in your neighborhood, Massa? Will you let me in your school, Massa? See, you're like little children, and they treat you like that. Well, wait a minute. The president ain't like no little child. Stop it. I'm going to show you what they think about you. Here's the president of the United States. He makes a statement about people losing their homes and whatnot, gambling. And then his plane stops in Las Vegas. And the little Jewish mayor wouldn't even come out to greet him. How you gonna greet a nigger president? Yes, I use the word because that's the way they think. You're nothing to them. Nothing to them. Don King, the great boxing impresario, sat at my table, said he met with the executives of Time Warner, and they told him, you are a flea, and we are an elephant, and we will crush you. You see many fights now that Don is producing? Look at your giants. Now I want to talk to you, man. You're going to be the future leaders, but you can't be no punk and lead our people. You got to be a real man or get the hell out the way. Go along to get along, Negro. Afraid to speak up. Afraid to stand up for people that are dying in the street because their leaders are liars and thieves and robbers. That's why Jesus said, all that came before me were thieves and robbers, suck the life out of you and give you nothing in return. Yeah, I'm talking about it. Our poor people are suffering because our leaders are children who just want a place close to their former slave masters and their children. I'm the first black to be over Merrill Lynch. I'm the first black to be over this. I'm the first. Why don't you be the first black to walk into a free, independent nation under the guidance of God? Why don't you think about building a real nation for yourself and your people? Now I can conclude. Some of you so happy that I'm concluding. But let me tell you, that's why they don't want me in your college. Because you're going to have to think differently now. The brother said we got to change. But change into what? Look, Pharaoh was rich. And the children of Israel were enamored by the wealth of Pharaoh. So Moses prayed that God would destroy the wealth of Pharaoh so that his people wouldn't look to Pharaoh but look to God, Moses, Aaron, and themselves. Oh boy. Now our brother becomes president. After George Bush killed tens of thousands of Iraqis, shock and awe, on the basis of a lie. You're talking about killing your own people? Sending our soldiers, young, black, brown, and white, to die in Iraq on the basis of a lie. Well, Osama bin Laden was in Afghanistan. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. And after 9/11, George W. Bush, a few days after it happened, it was these Muslims that did it. Have you really studied what happened? Do you think these little people that learned how to fly a little bit could fly a plane and drop it so many feet at 500 miles an hour and drive it into the World Trade Center? That it was organized by a man in some cave over there? You a damn fool. And you allowed this enemy to deceive you while this was to their political advantage. Well, I'm speaking like this because I may never get back. The forces are very angry with me, and I understand it. He brings around him all the Wall Street crowd from Goldman Sachs. See, you socializing, you boogie, you partying. I know you. You focus a little on your studies, but a lot on the girl you studying. And the open knee rather than the open book. Reefer smoking and acting a fool. We know you. That's why your brothers and sisters say, we got to change. This is a serious world out there that you're going to face. In leaving you, let me tell you what you're going to face. These Wall Street helpers of Obama asked him to take out a stimulus package. Well, he's not an economist. He trusted them. Nearly $1 trillion he borrows. Did you get anything? Did small businesses get any loans from the banks? Did the people whose houses are in foreclosure get Any help? Did the infrastructure get rebuilt? Oh. What happened to George Bush's stimulus package of nearly 800 billion? You don't even know where that went. Nobody's saying nothing. Nobody asking. But
in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his servant and messenger. I greet you, my beloved brothers and sisters and regular viewers of the Imagination Show. I greet you in the greeting words of peace. We say it in the ancient tongue of Arabic. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome, 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 dear beloved family. Welcome, friends. Welcome, viewers of the Imagination Show. As you know, my name is Brother Leo Muhammad, and sitting alongside me is my beloved friend and wife, Sister Claudia Muhammad.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. I greet you all in the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, beloved.
How are you all? And thank you so much for tuning in once again, wherever you are on the planet Earth. We really thank you and appreciate your time, as time is so limited. Time is absolutely flying. Why is it we're nearly at the end of the month?
Time is running and passing,
absolutely
beloved.
running and passing. You've got to be on time with God.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Dear family, welcome, welcome, welcome. It's cold.
It was all right today.
How did you find it out
warm.
there?
Very warm. It was nice and mild.
Yeah, well, it actually wasn't that bad, actually.
But remember that saying, some man said, there's no such thing as bad weather, it's bad dressing.
Bad dressing.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's often the problem, that we know what type of weather it is, whether it's hot or cold or
That's
wet
right.
or dry.
You got to dress.
And then we choose the wrong garments to wear.
But no coat.
Exactly. If you wear the right clothes, if you bald-headed people like me, you put a hat on, whatever, stop, because all the heat leaves from the top of the head. You see?
You wear the hat in the summer. And not in the winter.
Not in the winter, yeah.
Yes. Mm.
So, dear family, we are once again tremendously honored and privileged to have you here with us to share in another episode of the Imagination Show. As always, I would like to encourage you to call a friend, a family member, a loved one. Let them know that the Imagination Show is right now live on Zoom and also on YouTube.
And I just want to give a special greetings to our brother Paul.
Paul? Who's
your brother?
Oh, really? Is he on?
Yes.
Oh, that's nice.
Assalamu alaikum, Paul.
That's nice to know. You need to call me, brother. You need to give me a call because I've been calling you for several days and I can't hear from you. But anyway, family, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Imagination Show. Just share it, man. Share the love. Put it out there. You can cut it up. You can do whatever you want to do. Those of you who have that type of technical savvy, share clips of the Imagination Show all around on the different networks that you may be on. And of course, hit that like button because it does make a difference. It does influence the so-called algorithms, and it projects the show so that when people are trying to find something, Imagination will be popping up. And also, of course, subscribe. We need those subscribers. I think right now we're only at 44,000 or so. We need much more than that, family. Come on. We need some subscriptions. Also, dear family, as always, I think Sister Claudia will, we liked what happened last week when Sister Claudia asked you to put a number in the chat, and then she could just go into one of the 101 questions and answer from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and just select at random just to show you how powerful those answers are, because really that's the focus. People
That's
are
right.
asking questions, but we want to hear from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I do hope you were watching a few minutes ago and listening to the minister, because I'm telling you, man, you know, family, one thing that myself and Sister Claudia Mohammed are uh, determined never to do, and that is to take for granted this voice of God that's in our midst. We really, you know, again, we touched on it last week where somebody was basically criticizing, saying that we talk about the minister too much. But what we said in response is that we can't talk about this man enough.
That's right.
Because of all of the people on the planet, this is the man
That's right.
that is giving guidance to humanity. And whether we appreciate it or not, the number one thing that is needed by the members of the human family, and in specifics, in particular, Black people, is right guidance.
That's
because unfortunately, too many of us are misguided today. Too many of us are misled. You heard what the minister was saying about this leadership that we have. I mean, it's horrible. It's really, really horrible. Black leadership is so corrupt uh, today, so compromised today. And, you know, even though there are those of us who would like to pretend that we're not following anyone or anything, I can assure you, family, even if you're one of those who say, me no want no leader, me don't have no leader, me lead myself, I can guarantee you, that's the Jamaican one who says that. I'm saying to you that in reality, dear family, where there's an absence of leadership, you're following something, you're following someone. And this is the problem that we have today, because Satan is in rulership. His time is up. He's about to be removed from that place of interfering with God's uh, kingdom, with God's rule. But at the end of the day, you know, the minister is the clearest voice on planet Earth today. Literally the mouthpiece of God.
A gift to the
You know,
world.
absolutely. And giving us that guidance
That's
that
right.
if we were sensible enough to follow, man, we could change our reality overnight.
That's
Because that's the point. The point is that as long as we are just wallowing in this cesspool of madness that passes for a world, and not realizing that we are following one who is against God, one who is robbing God, one who is diametrically opposed to what God says. Whatever God says to do, the enemy says, do the opposite. Whatever God says, don't do, the enemy says, do. And this is the kind of world that we live in right now. And unfortunately, for some of us, we go along to get along. And that means that we go along with this misguided world and this misguided system that is really just leading us into absolute hell on a rocket ship. Go ahead, sister.
No, I was going to say to Johnny Mitchell, if you want to speak with Brother Leo Mohammed, you can DM him on Instagram. It's Leo Mohammed.
Yes, please do that, dear brother. And then we will touch base.
Or anyone who wants to.
Yeah, anyone.
Yeah.
Anyone, you know, who wants to get in touch. We will do our best, dear family, to respond. Now, let me just remove something from my screen so that I can see properly. And say to you, welcome to episode 165 of the Imagination Show. Today is Thursday, January the 16th, 2025. It is 2025, family. I can remember being a child, a young boy, thinking about the year 2000 because it
Exactly.
seemed so far
It
away.
did.
Now we're 25 years in.
What
Go
about
ahead.
that space? What was it called?
Space 1999. You remember that? That was a program that used to come on the TV
Yeah.
in this country. I don't know if it
In America.
if it was in America. It probably was in America because
Yeah, wasn't it American?
I think they were American.
Yeah.
But you know, thinking about those shows
Yeah.
because I think we was watching those in the late 80s, early 90s, whatever. And here we are, 25 years in to the 21st century. Dear family, today's show is entitled The Global Conspiracy to Rob God.
I like that title.
Yeah, it's a good title. And by the way, just bear in mind, that a conspiracy, all a conspiracy is two or more people sitting down together and making a plan. And in specifics, normally the plan is something nefarious. Normally the plan is something secret. Normally the plan is something dishonest or illegal. Okay, so that's why it's a conspiracy when you have two or more people sitting down to really plot something wicked and evil. And in this case, we're talking about a global conspiracy to rob God. This ain't talking about no two people or no 2,000 people. We're talking about a whole lot of people who have, in one way or another, determined that they know better than God and that they are desirous of taking that which really only belongs to God. Let me give you an example of what I'm saying. We get a lot of praise from many of you for the Imagination show. But when we get it, when we receive it, we say all praise belongs to God. All praise is due to Allah. That's what we say. And we say it and we mean it. We don't take the praise because it's not us, dear family. You see, whatever we're doing today has been inspired by God through a man who is influencing us to stand up in a world that is so dangerous in truth. Somebody said it in the chat about the minister, really risking his life.
Oh, yeah. I think it was Ronald Thompson.
Is it Brother Ronald who said that?
Yeah, he said they don't make them like him anymore. He's risking his life to tell the truth to wake us up.
Absolutely, beloved. Right. Absolutely. You think this is a joke? These people don't play. Satan don't play. He is a killer. He is a maimer. He's wicked. You see, and when you begin to expose him and tell the truth of him and his minions, you see, those who are involved in the conspiracy with him, man, he don't like that. He don't like exposure. He don't like light to be shone on his nefarious activities, and he will move to kill you. And the only protection, dear family, that we have, for those of us who think that all it needs is for us to be big, bad, with muscles or whatever, or maybe a gun or a knife or a machete. No, family. We got to be wrapped up in the bosom of Almighty God Allah. Not a spook God, a real God. That's right. Who is able to protect us if we sign up with him. That's right. If we step and walk in the pathway that he has laid for us in terms of righteousness, in terms of goodness, in terms of bowing and submitting our will to do his will being to raise a people who have been destroyed back to life and to destroy the wicked. It's not really complex. It's not complicated. But I'm saying to you, family, that this global conspiracy is very real. And this is what we want to briefly go into this evening. So I hope that you have got your little thinking cap on, because again, on the Imagination show, what we're trying to do is to provoke thought, is to provoke you to think outside of the box that this enemy has placed us in. You see, that's why it's image a nation. We want you to use that faculty of your imagination to see beyond what it is that they have set as our limitations. Before getting started this evening, the news reports from yesterday say that a ceasefire has been agreed between the genocidal IDF, that's the Israeli so-called defense force, and the Palestinian people in Gaza, which is to commence formally this coming Sunday. Yet, according to what I've heard overnight, the Israelis have continued to slaughter. They've killed a number of Palestinians, even after this has been declared that it's a ceasefire. Despite all the trauma, all the pain, death, and destruction the people of Gaza have suffered over the last 15 months, they are celebrating and praising Almighty God Allah. You know, I was looking at the people and I had to admire them and say, all praise is due to Allah. What a resilient people, man.
That's right.
After going through, and they're still going through it. And I'm telling you, family, if and when the dust settles, because there's no guarantee when you're dealing with a wicked liar such as Israel, you see. But if and when the dust settles, you're going to be shocked when you realize the true scale, the level of debauchery and destruction and evil that has been meted out on these people over the last 15 months. And yet, family, when you look at the Palestinians and you see them celebrate, and the thing that you can hear more than anything else coming out of their mouth is Allahu Akbar. God is great. God is great. God is great. They're praising Allah. They're praising God. You see, I'm telling you, man, these Westerners, these people, they could never take one iota. I didn't say half. I didn't say 3/4. I said they couldn't take one iota of what these people have endured for over 70 plus years, because didn't start on the 7th of October, 2023. It didn't start then, family. These people have been suffering. 1948, they were thrown out of their homes, displaced from their land, to the tune of 750,000, and not allowed to return. And now, today, they've been bombed into smithereens, and all they have is rubble. Hospitals, schools, universities, everything destroyed deliberately to try to eliminate a whole people. And yet the people are really they're just demonstrating that when you have faith in God, despite what you go through, despite how dire it looks, despite how it looks like an impossible situation, the spirit of the human being will carry you through. And I'm talking about the spirit of the human being who loves God. Man, you'd be surprised what you can do when you line up with God. Dear family, I hope you are following us this evening on the Imagination Show. I'm going to try not to be long, but like our brother Khalid Muhammad used to say, I do intend to be strong. In the book of Genesis, chapter 15, verse 13, it reads, and God said unto Abraham, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and they shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, God talking, and afterwards shall they come out with great substance. You know, family, when I look at this image of the HMS Windrush, which was the ship that sailed from the Caribbean in 1948 bringing black people, mostly from Jamaica, but from other islands as well, into England, into the United Kingdom after the Second World War to help to rebuild this nation, and how joyous and how happy our people were, not realizing, not really having a clue that they were the people spoken of in the scriptures, in that book of Genesis, a people who would be among strangers for 400 years, afflicted for 400 years, destroyed as a human reality for 400 years, and trying to fit in, trying to make ends meet, trying to compromise ourselves out of ourselves, to be other than ourselves in order to fit into such an alien environment. And despite all our efforts, dear family, we don't fit. We don't fit in this world. This is not our world. Our God said he would come. And I'm telling you, with deep humility, he has come. He has come, dear family. And I want you to understand something, because, we say the global conspiracy to rob God. See, what you've got to understand is that we are the children of God. We are the children of God. And you see, it's one thing, you talk about thieves and robbers and crooks, who steal money, who steal property, they steal land. On the thumbnail that we produced for this show today, it shows you like 3 Africans: see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, but they're denying that they've seen anybody stealing the land, heard anybody talking about stealing the land, or and so on and so forth. My point is this: you see, family, there is robbery and then there's robbery. See, they didn't just steal our artifacts. They didn't just steal our gold. They didn't just steal our diamonds. They didn't just steal the produce that comes from the soil of the African continent, or indeed the Caribbean soil, but they stole the very people of God. Think about that.
That's right.
Do you understand what has been done? Do you know that there are criminals who steal cars to order? Like they're top people are criminals who, like, for instance, they want a Lamborghini because they've got a buyer, say somewhere in Dubai or one of these other foreign countries, and they have ways and means of getting this car on a ferry or on some other type of transportation to get it abroad to that buyer. And they will steal it. They will then remove the identification numbers of that vehicle. They oftentimes will change the color of the vehicle, but they will do what's necessary to disguise that vehicle so that if the owner was to see that vehicle 3 or 4 days or a week after it's been stolen, the owner wouldn't recognize that that's his vehicle, that's their vehicle. And that's what was done to you and me. See, our identity was removed. Our color was changed. See, this is where all this race mixing comes in. But even deeper than that, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan refers to some of us now as black white people. Because we, the colloquial terms that are often used is like, coconuts. So we're black on the outside, white on the inside, because we've been given the mind of the enemy. We've been given the mind of the robber.
That's right.
See, some of us are just thieving people now. Some of us are terrible liars. Why? Because we've taken on board the personality, the mindset, the attitude of the thief, of the robber. See? But being the people and children of God, means that they've actually robbed God. They've actually deprived God of his people.
That's right.
And he has come now to reclaim his property. I've got a t-shirt. I don't even know if I still got the t-shirt.
Property of Allah.
Yeah, my t-shirt says the property of Allah. See, because that's who we belong to. That's who you belong to, black man. That's who you belong to, black woman. You are the property of God. And we were stolen. And it was a global conspiracy. It wasn't just the white man involved. The Arabs were involved as well. See? And some of our own greedy, corrupt people who were willing to take some kegs of strong drink or some beads or some other trinkets or some muskets, some weapons from the white man, were willing to round up some Africans from another tribe, Africans from another village, Africans from another hamlet, Africans from another town, and sell them to the enemy of both of them. But understand that this was a global conspiracy. Dear family, the Berlin Conference of 1884, 1885 was a conspiratorial meeting of colonial powers that concluded with the signing of the General Act of Berlin, an agreement regulating European colonization and trade in Africa during the new imperialism period. The conference of 14 countries was organized by Otto von Bismarck, the first Chancellor of Germany, at the request of Leopold II of Belgium. It met on the 15th of November, 1884, and after an adjournment, concluded on the 26th of February, very important date, 26th of February, 1885, with the signing of the General Act, which was an agreement to carve up the African continent between the European nations. They were like rabid dogs. They were, look at this cartoon, they animals, man. The way in which they attacked Africa to carve up Africa. Do we understand that slavery wasn't enough for them? Then they had to return to the continent and colonize that continent. And so those of us who were taken out in chains, put into the holds of ships and traverse that Middle Passage, that ocean voyage where so many of us died and suffered in the holds of those ships and went overboard and became fodder or food for sharks. That wasn't sufficient. The enemy had to also go to the mother continent and colonize that continent and make those blacks who remain there their lackeys, their servants, their workers, to do their bidding and to maintain their empire that spread all around the globe. Dear family, I hope you are following what we are sharing with you this evening, because it's very sad, that not enough of us really know the truth of the history and what has happened. And quite often when we relay history, it's only what the white man has told us. In the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verses 8 to 9, God is accusing and arguing with a people for robbing him. That scripture reads, will a man rob God? This is God talking. Will a man rob God? Yet ye have robbed me. This is God talking. Will a man rob God? Yet ye have robbed me. But ye say, wherein have we robbed thee? This is the enemy now replying, but you're saying that we've robbed thee. And God says, in tithes and offerings. That's how you haven't given to me what is due to me. Ye are cursed with a curse. God curses them. For ye have robbed me, even this whole nation. Now, that could be read two ways. God is accusing them of robbing a whole nation, taking a whole nation of people. Or you could say he's talking to them and their nation, that they are a nation of robbers and thieves. Doesn't really matter. These things are open to interpretation, but understand whichever way you want to look at it, dear family. The question is, will a man rob God? And the answer is emphatically yes. See, these people are not content with, some localized robbery or theft, some bank heist or armored car robbery where taking the money or going into Greece and stealing the Elgin marbles, or going to Africa and taking the Benin bronzes and all the other stuff that they've stolen. Nah, that's not sufficient, family. They want to rob, they want to steal from God. Even in the Holy Quran, it talks about them trying to get a hearing into heaven. They're trying to listen to the conversation of the learned elders who are in the circle of gods. Because the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, called them universal snoopers. They're robbers, they're thieves. And then they will, do you appreciate, family, that so many of the current modern day inventions that many of us take for granted, things like the refrigerated lorries that, traverse the countries, taking meat and all of this stuff in a refrigerated fashion so that it doesn't go off, that was invented by a black man? Do we understand that the first open heart surgery was done by a black man? Do we understand that the first working watch clock was created by a black man? Do we understand that so much of the modern day inventions were created by us, but they were patented by white people? Because in those days, we were not allowed to patent our own inventions. And so somebody else took credit for it, because they're robbers, they're thieves. So much of what they have today emanates from us, comes from us, but we don't necessarily appreciate our own genius, our own God-given talents and gifts. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, we're robbed. They've stolen from us and then have the cheek to sell it back to us.
Yeah, that's what they do.
Disgusting.
No, but that's what they do. We're gonna get into some of that as well, but that's what happens. And when you've got leadership that's corrupt, then, and who would facilitate the robbers, man, what chance do the people stand when they have that type of leadership, dear family? Let's just play this. This is an advert. This is a DJ, Mr. P, Dr. P. He's promoting like a multifaceted platform created by Africans. It looks interesting. I thought I would try and help out by playing it, and hopefully those of you who are interested, you might want to check out the address that he gives to find out more, and maybe it's something that will develop and something that we can use going forward.
Throughout history, humanity has thrived by embracing the wisdom of the past while paving the way for the future. At Ancient Society, we are carrying that torch forward, bridging the gap between tradition and innovation to awaken humanity to its fullest potential. Our roots are deep, drawing from the knowledge of our ancestors to restore the balance between humanity and the planet. Guided by principles of light and love, we are committed to uplifting communities from poverty, ignorance, and isolation into a space of prosperity and unity. Our digital ecosystem is the cornerstone of this mission, a collection of platforms designed to inspire, connect, and empower. These applications are similar to popular applications such as WhatsApp, Facebook, TikTok, Zoom, and eBay. With tools like Ancient Meet, we redefine virtual connectivity, making every interaction seamless and productive. On Ancient Flip, creativity finds its home, allowing Africa's vibrant youth to share their stories and earn as they entertain and educate the world. Ancient Media is more than a social platform. It's a global village where Africans at home and abroad unite, share, and earn. Every like, comment, and post translates into opportunities for growth and financial reward. At the heart of this transformation is Ancient Coin, our groundbreaking digital currency. Unlike volatile cryptocurrencies, Ancient Coin offers stability and security, backed by gold and designed to appreciate as our community grows. From street vendors to financial brokers, it's a currency everyone can trust. Our innovation doesn't stop there. With Ancient Mall, we're revolutionizing e-commerce in Africa, providing businesses with a platform to thrive without the overhead costs of physical storefronts. And Ancient Chat ensures communication is secure, intuitive, and always within reach. These tools are not just technology. They're lifelines for entrepreneurs, creatives, and communities across Africa and beyond. Ancient Society is the spark that ignites dreams and turns them into success stories. Together, we can build a legacy of innovation, sustainability, and hope. Imagine a world where every individual has the tools to thrive, where barriers dissolve, and where humanity stands united. This is the vision of Ancient Society, a future of abundance, prosperity, and unity. Join us. Fund the future. Together, we can awaken humanity to its true potential. Donate today and be a part of the revolution. Visit www.ancientsociety.tech. That's www.ancientsociety.tech. Thank you.
www.ancientsociety.tech, dear family. Really, I hope that when we see things like that, that we do appreciate that. Again, we were just saying it in truth, that, don't underestimate what we can do as Black people, as Africans. We are the creative people on the planet. We have that ability. Some people have what's called synthetic creativity. In other words, all they can do is copy what's already there, what's already been invented, what's already been created. Whereas with us, we have genuine creative abilities. We can create from nothing.
That's right.
You see? So, such platforms as what was just being advertised, tremendous potential, especially if it's coming from us as a people. Now, this image here on the screen, this is the so-called Ark of Return, which is purported to be a permanent memorial to honor the victims of slavery and the transatlantic slave trade, located at the Visitors Plaza of the United Nations headquarters in New York, which, unless its meaning is explained, one would have no idea what it represents, which is by deliberate, obscure design. Another way of attempting to rob God is to deliberately hide the truth. I mean, if you was at the United Nations and you were walking past that, what How does that relate to being a memorial to those of us who were enslaved for 400 years in the Western Hemisphere? You know, what is that? You see, but again, one of the problems that we have is that the enemy will offer us little trinkets. He will throw out little things to us, a statue here or a memorial plaque there, and we're so happy. We feel so, oh wow, you know, this person has actually they're repenting. We should forgive them because look at what they've done. But see, when I see something like this, I think, oh, you're absolutely trying to obfuscate what you've done.
Exactly.
You're trying to obscure and hide the reality of the transatlantic slave trade, that system that was imposed on Black people that destroyed us as a human race, reduced us to beasts of burden for literally decades upon decades. So, you know, family, I just want us to just be aware that not everything that we see that purports to be in honor of us or in tribute to us, you know, it's like these Live Aid things that they did where they were saying, you know, singing the song, Do They Know It's Christmas Time? And they're supposed to be raising money for starving African children. You know, according to some reports, and hardly any money even got to the Africans who were suffering, or the people, you know. So much of that is just skimmed off the top, and you got these executives who are in charge of these things, like these huge charities, you know. We're being scammed.
Absolutely.
We're being scammed, family. And what we have to learn to do is to do for self. That's what the most honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us. Separate and do for self, or suffer the consequences.
That's right.
You'd be surprised what we can do, man, together as a people.
That's right.
If we go about it with integrity and honesty and uprightness, righteousness and goodness towards one another. If we recognize, you know, that that's my brother, that's my sister, that we're family, we could achieve so much rather than constantly looking outward and hoping that somebody who is not like us, somebody who doesn't even feel our pain, somebody who can't identify, and all they've ever done is rob and spoil us. See? When I saw that, I was trying to look at that thing from all different angles, trying to work out, what does that look like to you, Sister Claudia?
It looks like a tile advert.
A tile, yeah, an advert for tiles.
Yeah.
How to stick tiles together in a strange manner.
Yeah.
What is it? Is it the sail of a ship? What is it? You
Can't
see,
really see it.
You see, family, we just have to be. We need the guidance today, and that we don't fall for these little tricks of the devil. Let's look and listen to this video presentation produced by African Black Culture Diary, and just analyze some of the facts about one of the commodities being stolen from the African continent via a global conspiracy to make the West and their lackeys rich while keeping Africa and its people underdeveloped and impoverished. You see, because this is what's going on today. This is what's been going on for decades. This is what's been going on since 1884, 1885, and that Berlin Conference. That has never been reneged. It's never been condemned. It's never been demolished. It's never been stopped. It's just carried on, metamorphosis, changing its face and its configuration, but it's the same exploitation. It's the same carving up process that was set in place from the 18th, 19th century, continuing today into the 21st century.
Dubai has been exploiting Africa's gold. But who's behind this masterminded heist? If you think it's just one nation, you're mistaken.
It was released earlier today. It says that in 2022, at least 435 tons of gold were smuggled out of Africa. 435 tons. That's more than 1 ton of gold every day.
In reality, multiple nations have banded together to plunder Africa's gold. And tragically, while they grow richer, Africa remains trapped in economic instability. They build empires on African gold and in return, give nothing. So, who's really behind it all? Let's find out. Africa, blessed with immense natural wealth, has long been the target of foreign exploitation. From the dark days of colonization to the modern era of globalization, Africa's resources have consistently been drained by those who see its riches as theirs for the taking. Today, the United Arab Emirates UAE, with its gleaming skyscrapers and luxurious lifestyle, stands at the center of a new chapter in this age-old story, the illegal gold trade. In 2022 alone, an astounding 93% of the illegal gold entering the UAE originated from Africa, totaling 435 tons worth a staggering $35 billion. This wealth, representing 40% of Africa's total gold production and 12% of the world's, is being taken off with ruthless efficiency. But this is no mere tale of one nation's greed. The West, with its long history of exploiting African resources, is a silent partner in this heist, benefiting from the plundered gold that flows through Dubai. This all starts to make sense.
By the way, I don't agree with all of the narrative that's been spoken here, the voiceover. So much of it, the West is no silent partner. You know, the West is a very vocal partner. The West is the leading partner. Understand this. And these Arabs, you see, you know, so many of us, we're so fascinated by Dubai and the United Arab Emirates and, you know, the gleaming, sparkling buildings or whatever, but not having any appreciation that so much of the wealth that has gone into building, it's not just oil wealth that these Arabs have, but so much of the wealth that is being generated by our brothers and sisters on the African continent, and then that wealth is being stolen and siphoned off and sent into these areas to then be reconstituted and then sent to the West and then sold back on a global scale to make everybody massively rich while our people remain impoverished on the continent. And then we got these so-called leaders who are facilitating this robbery of God.
When you think of what's happening in Africa in terms of its economy. Have you ever wondered why, despite Africa's immense natural wealth, so many of its people live in poverty? The answer lies in the systemic extraction of Africa's resources by foreign powers, a modern-day continuation of the colonial mindset that has plagued the continent for centuries. The latest manifestation of this exploitation is the illegal gold trade, with the UAE at the forefront. In 2022, nearly half of Africa's gold was channeled out of the continent illegally, with Dubai serving as the gateway to global markets. The UAE's role in this illegal trade is central. Dubai, often referred to as the City of Gold, has become the hub for gold trading, attracting traders and investors from around the world. However, beneath the glittering surface lies a dark...
The City of Gold with no gold of their own. See, that's what you got to understand. You see, just like these countries who have got all of these minerals, all of these diamonds, they've got no diamonds of their own, but somehow they're the ones who dominate the diamond trade. Right. They dominate the gold trade, yet they've got no gold in their own soil. So where is it coming from? And who's been exploited? Who's been robbed in order for these people to wax rich and live the high life, while Africans, and then those same Africans who they are exploiting, they abuse. See? Here's some of the horror stories of what happens to our people when they go to these places and work as domestics and in Saudi and in Dubai, in these places, and the level of abuse and exploitation that takes place of the person as well as their resources. We got to wake up, family.
Underbelly of corruption, smuggling, and exploitation. The gold that makes its way to Dubai is often mined under dangerous and unethical conditions in Africa, bypassing regulations and taxes that would benefit the continent. This is not just a problem of legality. It is a deep-seated moral issue that reveals the persistent inequalities between Africa and the rest of the world. But let's be clear, this isn't just about the UAE. The West plays a crucial, if quiet, role in this exploitation.
Remember, it's a global conspiracy. See, everybody is involved. They're all involved. They all know what's going on. And even, like I said, even some of our own so-called elites on the continent are the facilitators of these parasites and these vampires from the outside who are just continuously just sucking the blood of the people of Africa and making everybody else rich while keeping the continent in the terrible condition that it's in.
The gold that arrives in Dubai doesn't stay there. It moves on to Western markets, where it fuels economies and fills the coffers of multinational corporations. These corporations, many of them headquartered in Europe and North America, are the ultimate beneficiaries of this stolen wealth. They purchase the gold, often with little regard for its origins, and sell it at a significant profit. The irony is thick. Countries that claim to champion human rights and transparency are complicit in a system that exploits Africa's resources and people. The process is insidiously simple. Gold is mined in Africa, often in small artisanal operations. Instead of being processed and sold legally, much of it is smuggled out, avoiding taxes and regulations. The gold passes through various hands, often ending up in Dubai, where lax regulations make it easy to clean the gold and sell it on the global market. The profits are enormous, but Africa sees none of it. Instead, the continent is left with environmental destruction, social disintegration, and the economic impoverishment that accompanies this illegal trade. All in all, if Africa isn't reaping the benefits of its gold, then who is? The answer is multifaceted. At the center of this web is the...
And remember, family, they're using things like arsenic and other things to refine the gold, and when and all of that, they contaminate the soil. They leave all of this poison. They dig these massive holes in the African soil, and there's no health and safety provisions, because these are black people, these are Africans. They can go in, they mess up the water tables in many of these areas whereby now the water is contaminated, the people are drinking poison water, the people's soil has been contaminated, and they cut down the trees. They do all kinds of environmental damage, okay? And they break all the rules and all the laws because it's Africa. Just like when you see these people, they send all their secondhand rubbish to Africa to keep us in that mindset of secondhand, of used products, as opposed to us realizing that we can have brand new things. We can create our own. We can have our own. You see, and the people absolutely suffer under this, and then you got all these illnesses that come now. As a result, the children are sick. You see, the people in the villages are sick because we haven't got the provisions, we haven't got the resources, because the resources have been stolen. We haven't got the resources for proper infrastructure, social infrastructure, healthcare, education. So the people, it's like a perpetual motion where the people are just kept in a cycle, a vicious cycle. And these so-called leaders facilitate this. I hope you're listening, family.
UAE, specifically Dubai, which has become a global hub for gold trading. But the profits don't stop there. Western nations and corporations are the ultimate beneficiaries as they purchase this gold, often without questioning its origins. The irony is thick. Countries that claim to champion human rights and transparency are complicit in a system that exploits Africa's resources and people. Dubai's role as a middleman is crucial. By providing a marketplace where illegal...
Because that's all it is. All it is a claim. Robert's talking about how they claim to be champions of human rights and democracy. It's just a claim. That's what Satan does. You see, he comes with this laudable claim of righteous conduct and, but that's how the devil comes. That's how a wicked person comes. They don't come and let you know straight up that they're wicked. They come disguised as an angel of light, you see? And then we end up with their religious baggage that we take on board. I never forget Robert Mugabe when he eventually woke up to the reality of the level of exploitation and wickedness from the West, and they were trying to force their homosexual agenda on Zimbabwe. And Robert Mugabe was asking the question, but you came here and you told us that homosexuality was wrong. You came in, you told us that this was, anti-Christian, that this, that was not good behavior. Now you've changed your mind. You see? And the Africans who believed what they came and told them in the first place, they're trying to hold on to that. And, not that they needed the West to come and teach Africans morality. You understand what I'm saying? Because we had our own moral codes already, but we discarded those moral codes, took on board this white man's moral code, only to discover that, well, a few years later, he discards that. And he's now telling you, well, that's archaic, that's old. Now we're going to move into the new. Now we're going to be, trans now. Oh, family.
Gold can be sold. The city facilitates the flow of wealth from Africa to the West. The city's gleaming skyscrapers and luxurious lifestyles are, in part, funded by the misery and exploitation of African miners. But it's not just about wealth, it's about power. By controlling the flow of gold, the West and its allies maintain a stranglehold on global markets. Africa is kept in a position of dependency, forced to sell its resources at a fraction of their value, while others reap the rewards. The Western financial system is deeply intertwined with this exploitation. Banks and financial institutions, often based in Europe and North America, provide the infrastructure that allows this gold to be traded on global markets. These institutions benefit from the trade, taking their cut of the profits while remaining willfully ignorant of the human cost. The system is designed to protect the interests of the powerful, ensuring that the wealth generated by Africa's gold never returns to the continent. But the exploitation doesn't end with the banks. The gold that reaches Western markets is used in a variety of industries, from electronics to jewelry. Multinational corporations, eager to meet consumer demand, turn a blind eye to the origins of their raw materials. As long as the gold keeps flowing, they see no need to ask difficult questions. The result is a global supply chain that is deeply tainted by corruption and exploitation, yet operates...
Global conspiracy to rob God. You are the people of God.
That's right.
We are the children of the Most High God, and we are the victims of a global robbery.
That's right.
Under the guise of legitimacy. The role of Western governments in this system cannot be overlooked. These governments, which often espouse the values of democracy and human rights, are complicit in the exploitation of Africa's resources. Through trade agreements, foreign aid, and diplomatic relations, they create the conditions that allow this illegal trade to flourish. They provide the legal and economic frameworks that enable corporations to extract wealth from Africa while giving little or nothing in return.
That's it, family.
Lazarus.
Yeah, it's I mean, I just wonder sometimes if we really appreciate that. And again, you're not talking here about, you know, some mistake, some haphazard, you know, anomaly that can be fixed by a little negotiation here, a little negotiation there. You got to understand this is all by design.
That's right.
This is not an accident. This is meant to be that way. You see, that's why it's been maintained for hundreds of years. See, because we're living in a world that's fast changing. Everything changes, everything changes. But have you ever wondered why, despite the fact that everything changes, nothing changes there?
That's right.
You know, it's the same MO, it's the same mode of operation, it's the same behavior, it's the same conditions, because it's by design. It's meant to be that way, you see? Because understand this about being a black man, being an original person, being a black woman, being an original woman. You got to understand, family, that the enemy knows who you are. He knows that you are, that we are the people of God. He knows our inherent genius. Genius is a really cheap word. It's not a good word. I'm trying to find a better word in truth. He knows our inherent majesty, who we are, you see? And his job is to keep us from ever coming into the realization of just who we are. See, it's not an accident that Almighty God, Allah, has given us those lands, those resources. Everywhere where we are indigenous, that's where all of the wealth is. It's not an accident. You see, but if we don't, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said it in the lecture at the beginning, if we're not willing to study, because remember, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. See, ignorance today is no excuse. We can't use ignorance to maintain ourselves. Some people say ignorance is bliss. I'm blissfully ignorant. No, family. Ignorance is death. See? So we can't ignore the reality that a wicked demon, one of the brothers and sisters, Cuban crisis, said the 85%, 10%, and 5% is very real. Absolutely, Cuban crisis. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that 85% of the people of the planet, whether they're black, brown, yellow, red, or white, are ignorant, man. Poison animal eaters. We just, you know, they can give us poison food. They give us pork and we gobble it down because we're ignorant. We don't realize that we are being manipulated. And he says, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that 10% of the people on the planet are the wickedly wise blood suckers of the poor. Because I hear people talking about 1%. No, it's 10%. 10% of this world's population. That's why I said before, this global conspiracy, it's a big number. It's a lot of people involved in this who are in league with one another in order to exploit the 85% of the planet. And then you got 5% poor righteous teachers. That's where Master Farad Muhammad comes in. That's where the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad comes in. That's where the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan comes in. That's where you and I come in. If we would line up behind God and his servants and make a determination once and for all that this thing has to stop now. And we ain't going to have it no more. See? Because the devil can only operate in his evil as long as we pretend that we don't know who he is, and we won't call him out and we won't expose him. But the thing that he's terrified of is exposure, family. truth. See, Almighty God Allah built a universe on truth. And this enemy has introduced lies, see, which is another form of robbing God, robbing the people of God. You see, because once we accept the lie instead of the truth, man, we've lost. By the time surely man is in loss, except those who believe. Believe in what? Believe in God. Believe in his truth. Believe in his universal order. Except those who believe and do good. See, we've got to be a people who are doing good. Another word for good is God. Just an extra O. We've got to do God's will. Accept those who believe and do good, and exhort one another to truth, and exhort one another to patience, truth regardless. You know, in the Nation of Islam, we're taught to tell the truth, even if that truth be against ourselves. That's how powerful and important truth is, beloved. It actually frees you. Why did Thomas Jefferson write in his notes on the enslavement of Africans in the state of Virginia and the prospect of our eventual going free? Why did he write these words? Listen to the words of Thomas Jefferson. Indeed, I tremble for my country when I reflect that God is just, that his justice cannot sleep forever, that considering numbers, nature, and natural means only, a revolution of the wheel of fortune and exchange of situation is among possible events, that it may become probable by supernatural interference. This is a man who is contemplating the reality of what he and his people have done to Black people, and then contemplating the fact that at some point, based on numbers, because we don't die, we multiply. Black people are continuously growing. Based on numbers, based on our nature, which they can't change our nature. See, by nature we are the people of God. But based on numbers, nature, natural means only, a revolution. All a revolution is, we have a prayer in Islam. We say, oh Allah, surely I am being turned, trying to be upright to him who originated the heavens and the earth. See, just turn, man. Just turning away from that wicked one and turning now to face the good one. Turning to face the east in prayer. Surely I am being turned. So he says, this is Thomas Jefferson. He says, nature, natural means only a revolution of the wheel of fortune. You think it's fortune, good or bad fortune? No, it ain't gonna be based on no lottery. It ain't gonna be based on no, maybe not. But he's musing on the fact that he knows that change has got to come. And it's going to be good fortune for us. It's going to be bad fortune for him and his people. An exchange of situation. He's talking here about his situation being exchanged with the situation of the Black man, or the Black man's situation being exchanged with him. So he's now trying to put himself in the position that he knows that they've put us in. Exchange of situation is among possible events. He's conceding that there's a possibility that one day, as the scripture says, as you have sown, so shall you also reap. That one day there's this possibility. And then he says that it may become probable by supernatural interference. Well, I'll remind you of the so-called orbs, the so-called drones, the so-called, but let's get away from the so-called and let's just say the wheel and the baby planes, okay? Because these are real. And they will see those as supernatural. See, because they are supernatural. They're natural, but they are super in what they represent in a world like this. And they do represent interference. Okay? You know, sometimes when the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan opens up, what does he say? We thank Allah for intervening in our affairs. Well, intervention and interference is the same thing. See? But Thomas Jefferson was conscious and worried that something supernatural would interfere with what they were doing to the enslaved people in Virginia in North America. Dear family, he says, indeed, I tremble for my country when I reflect that God is just, that his justice cannot sleep forever. And I'm telling you, family, look at this black man's back. This is how they used to whip us, man. And then they were so sadistic, some of them would then turn around and put sugar or salt in the wounds. And sometimes they would stake us out, pin us out in the sun, and allow insects, ants, and other creatures to come and feed in our wounds. These are some demons, man. Family, I hope we're listening. We're nearly at the end. I hope everybody is good. But like I said, even if we're not going to be long, we're always going to try to be strong, dear family. The following is from an article written by A. Missouri Sherman Peter entitled The Legacy of Slavery in the Caribbean and the Journey Towards Justice. The first part of the article states, it is now universally understood and accepted that the transatlantic trade in enchained, enslaved Africans was the greatest crime against humanity committed in what is now defined as the modern era. I just want to stop there a second. See, because again, with some of us, you know, and I hear this coming out of black people sometimes, oh man, that was so long ago. Stop it, shut up, stop it. Do you understand that 400 years ago is considered the modern era, that this is modern time? See, stop thinking that this is some ancient history that, oh, we need to forget and move on from. We are still suffering the legacy of this today. So much of our behavior today is based on the trauma that was inflicted and what we've been through as a people. And unless we address what happened, we can't change the trajectory of our movements today. We've got to understand the past in order to understand where we are and ultimately where we're going. It's not about living in the past, but it's about understanding why the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that history is best qualified to reward our research. See, you want a new pair of shoes? You better know your shoe size. But how do you know your shoe size? Because historically you measured your foot. You want a jacket? You want my daughter was asking me what size neck shirt I took. I don't know, she probably is she's gonna buy me a gift or something. But you know, I know my neck size. See, because historically I investigated that. You're gonna buy a house? You better get a survey and get somebody to come and tell you something about the history of that property. History has to be. You got a bad tooth? Go to the dentist. He's going to ask you, or if he doesn't ask you about the history of your tooth problem, he's going to go through each tooth himself in order to determine what fillings you've got, what extractions you've had, etc., etc. He's got to know the past in order to deal with the reality of today. This is a law, family. So don't be all emotional. Oh, you're bringing up this again. You know, some black people refuse to teach their children about recent history of racism and what black people have had to endure because they don't want their child to hate. Stop it. That is so foolish. You're setting your child up for such a terrible time in a world like this if you don't tell them what you went through and allow them to be able to avoid some of those pitfalls. Man,
You have to go to the root.
you got to go to the root, family. You got to go to the root of the problem if you're going to solve the problem. But you know, with us, it's branch knowledge.
That's right.
We start at the branch.
That's right.
We don't go into the root. See? And whenever you're starting on a branch somewhere to try and resolve something, it's just not going to work. It is now universally understood and accepted that the transatlantic trade in enchained, enslaved Africans was the greatest crime against humanity committed in what is now defined as the modern era. In terms of its scale and its social, psychological, spiritual, and physical brutality, specifically inflicted upon Africans as a targeted ethnicity. This vastly profitable business, because remember again, these are robbers, they're making money all the time. Our suffering represented money for them. This vastly profitable business and the considerable subsequent suppression of the inhumanity and criminal nature of slavery was ubiquitous and usurping of moral values. The word ubiquitous means everywhere. It's everywhere. This wasn't something confined to some little, it wasn't confined to Virginia. Okay, it was in Virginia, but it was also in other parts of North America. It was all over the Caribbean. It was in Brazil. It was, man, it was ubiquitous and usurping of moral values. See, these people were devoid of morality in order to enslave us and then destroy us as a human reality whilst we were serving them as slaves, as enslaved people. But guess what? Not only did they have no morals, but the fact that we were subject to a immoral people carrying out immoral behavior means that our own morals became compromised. You see? And so they were usurping, there was the usurping of moral values. And today, this is why in the Nation of Islam, we have to be taught again.
Made over again.
Moral conduct. Because there's too much immorality in the Black community, dear family. I pray that you understand why we need to go through this. Dear family, in the Holy Quran, chapter 2, in Arabic, it's Al-Baqarah, or in English, the cow, it reads, "Eat of that which is lawful and wholesome in the earth, and follow not the footsteps of the devil. Lo, he is an open enemy for you." Now, you know, we're not really, food is such an important thing. And, you know, we've talked about how to eat to live in the past. We will do it again because it's very, very important. But just understand, beloved, be very careful what you eat. Because if you consume the wrong food, it has an influence on your behavior. It's not an accident that, you know, when you meet those people on the road who are just crazy, they're called road hogs. They have the behavior of a pig or a swine on the road. See? Because that's maybe what they've been consuming all their life. And so now they have the characteristic of the creature that they consume. Some of us we love chicken. Can't do without it. Every day we got to eat Kentucky and some other foolishness. But understand, you need to go and observe chickens and how scared they are when they're eating and when they're moving around. See? Because you are what you eat. It's not an accident that a scared to death Negro is referred to as a chicken, you damn chicken. Because what we eat influences us. And understand that so much of what we eat today comes from the devil. The devil is giving us this diet. The devil is the one, and I'm not talking about some devil under the ground. I'm talking about the people who enslaved us, the people whose hands we've been in, the people who have been acting as our masters. The book says, eat of that which is lawful and wholesome in the earth, and follow not the footsteps of the devil. See, the devil has got footsteps. It's not a spook. Follow not the footsteps of the devil. Lo, he is an open enemy. He's not hidden under the ground. He's not supernatural somewhere. He is an open enemy for you. Family, I hope we get it. Now, in the year 2025, it is time for Black people, diasporians, and continentals to finally go free. That's what I'm saying, man. It's time to go free, but we will go free when we submit ourselves to that teaching which is designed to free us. It's as simple as that. Let's just listen a little bit to this before we begin to close out.
We have here a speech by Ibrahim Traoré, president of Burkina Faso. I think we spoke.
This brother here, I can't say his surname. Zach Mwigasa. Zach Mwigasa. You know, I've seen him a few times. I like his videos, but I thought I would just play this little bit from him today. So let's take a listen to Zach.
About him quite a number of times. This is Burkina Faso. Beautiful place, lovely country. I've been there myself. I can testify to it. Lovely people. It is extremely hot, but the heart of the people are also extremely warm. Very nice experience. Now, Burkina Faso is going through a very interesting time right now, where they have freed themselves from the presence of the French. How did the French get into Burkina Faso? French came into Burkina Faso during colonialism, many years.
Did you hear what the brother said? He said they're freeing themselves from the French. See, family, we've got to separate.
That's right.
See, Burkina Faso under Ibrahim Traoré, man, that man is showing what is necessary to be done, and that those nations in the Sahel region who have joined together, unifying these African nations, they're showing what has to happen, what needs to be done today. You can't associate with Satan, with the devil. We cannot be linked to these former colonial masters and think that somehow we're going to be able to do a deal with them and everything is going to work out. It don't work like that. It's separation. It's freedom or death. I know you don't want to hear that. I know you don't want to hear that. You want to hear some soft milk toast stuff.
The same way they did to many other African countries. They stayed there for a long time. In the 1960s, France decided to leave these countries and go back to France because they estimated these countries are now clever enough to run themselves. They gave them what we call independence. However, the independence came with a price. All these countries you see here, which are French-speaking African countries, had to sign a piece of paper that says, in spite of the fact that you have independence, we can still keep our military presence in your country. Number two, we are going to print your currency for you. Yes, you got that right. The currency used in most of these countries here, it's called the CFA franc. The CFA franc is right now printed in France. You're talking about independent countries. Get their money from France. So France can raise or drop the value of the currency of these countries right now. Now, something interesting has happened. What has happened? Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger have decided to kick out the French from their countries. Why have they done so? Because they felt like the French people came into their country, they're still looting all the industries, they're still taking the minerals, the gold, the diamond, and uranium. They're still participating actively in how they choose their president. So these people say, okay, enough, we don't want this anymore, you can piss off. Now, Emmanuel Macron, this is Emmanuel Macron, he's the French president. He's a young man. He's married to a very interesting lady. This is his wife. This is Emmanuel Macron. This is his wife. Okay, so no comment. That's whatever. Anyway, let's get back on track. Stay serious, guys. Now, Emmanuel Macron, and this is his wife. Okay, that's enough.
I have to explain the reason why he's talking like that is because it's well documented that this wife of Macron may actually have started life as a man. Okay, that's what he's alluding to. She may very well have started life as a man, and she has made some type of transition, and now she is his wife. But that's what our brother is alluding to in his funny kind of way that he's doing it. If you're interested in learning more about that, you might want to check out that sister who has her own channel online. Her name is Candice Owens. She goes deep into this whole thing with Brigitte, which is Macron's wife, who formerly, according to Candace Owens, was a man.
Okay, Burkina Faso president something to say. After Emmanuel Macron made a speech, listen to what Burkina Faso president had to say.
Quand je prends dernièrement les propos de Emmanuel Macron sur l'Afrique, eh bien, tout Africain conscient devrait donc comprendre très vite tout ce qu'il a pu nous dire et qu'est-ce que ça signifie.
Okay, now, listen to what Macron had to say.
We had a secure relationship. In truth, it was of two kinds. One part was our commitment to fighting terrorism since 2013. We were right. I think some have forgotten to say thank you, but that's okay. It'll come in time. I'm in a good position to know that ingratitude is a disease that cannot be transmitted to humans. But I say this for all the African governments who have not had the courage, in the eyes of their public opinion, to bear it. None of them would be in a sovereign country today if the French army had not been deployed in this region.
Did you hear that, fellas? Did you hear that? That came out of the mouth of Emmanuel Macron. He said Africans are ingrateful, okay? They should have been grateful for the presence of the French in their countries.
Le général Tiani a dit il n'y a pas longtemps du changement donc de tactique ou de stratégie des forces françaises en Afrique. Et je pense qu'il est venu le confirmer.
Okay, so France was kicked out of this country by Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. After they were kicked out, later on, Senegal followed through, Ivory Coast followed through, and Chad followed through. All these countries used to have France military bases. They've all decided all of a sudden, okay, guys, thank you very much, but we don't need you no more. You can go.
And by the way, just so that you appreciate, see, imagine France and England and all of these former colonial, I don't even got their bases in these countries. And do you know how many bases America has got in all of the countries around the world? 750 military bases in other people's countries. Okay. See, family, they've got to be kicked out. All of these people have got to go because that's how they control the planet. That's how they control our leaders. That's how they control our resources. That's how they continue to rape and rob God.
And France was furious. Emmanuel Macron came up with a strategy. All his soldiers and military personnel will be stationed in Djibouti. This is what he had to say.
Non, la France n'est pas en recul en Afrique. Elle est simplement lucide, elle se réorganise.
Il s'agit de dissoudre et de garder un dispositif socle. Et Emmanuel Macron l'a si bien dit qu'on ne peut que le remercier pour cette sincérité. Même si certains ont voulu mettre la poudre aux yeux de leur population, mais la réalité finit par rattraper aussi.
Okay, so it means there are still countries or presidents that are still blinding their population about France, even though Emmanuel Macron is doing negative things to Africa.
You hear that? So Brother Ibrahim Traore is making it abundantly clear that, you see, part of the problem is these African leaders who are still blinding the African populations to the reality of France, to the reality of Macron, to the reality of these Europeans who have been exploiting and continue to exploit their countries. It's the African leaders who are blinding their populations and keeping them subservient to these outside powers. That's how it works. Don't think that these outside powers have just got a direct line necessarily to the masses of the people. No, they've got their puppet in the country acting as a so-called head of state or other high position in government who are influencing the people, not to mention the media. Oh, brothers and sisters.
Even though he's showing Africa that he doesn't respect or consider them, there are still African presidents who are allied to France and are still lying to their people about France. That's what he's saying. Let's continue.
Il a aussi insulté tous les Africains dans
Okay, Macron insulted Africans, he says.
ses propos. Il y a une partie qui a retenu mon attention.
I'm in a good position to know that ingratitude is a disease that cannot be transmitted to humans.
Did you hear that? Emmanuel Macron just said Africans are ungrateful. And ungratefulness is a disease that is not transmissible to human beings.
Yes,
Fella, did you hear that? Ungratefulness is not a disease that is transmitted to human beings. I'm going to analyze that. Listen to Traoré.
Parlait d'ingratitude et que l'ingratitude est une maladie non transmissible aux humains. Lui, il est humain. Notre ingratitude n'est pas transmissible à lui.
Wow. So, ungratefulness is African, but ungratefulness is not a disease that is transmissible to humans. What does that mean? No, hold on a second. If ungrateful, we did math, right? If ungratefulness is African, but ungratefulness is not a disease that is transmissible to humans, what does that mean? What does that make Africans? No, ungratefulness is African, but ungratefulness is not a disease transmissible to humans. What does that mean? It means Africans are human or not human?
Understand what Macron is saying. See, he's human. Africans are not human. And they'll tell us these kind of things to our face. It's like these fashion designers who say, yeah, I don't design my clothes for black people to wear. But we're the ones who are running out, getting Louis Vuitton and this and that and all of these labels when these people don't even like us.
Like putting them in our rap songs.
Oh, man. Honestly, the devil tells us every day his hatred for us. Right. When Boris Johnson was talking about pickaninnies and all kinds of derogatory language about black people, but you see us, man. It's like what are we saying in the teachings? Why do we love the devil? We love the devil because he gives us nothing but insults, nothing but hatred, nothing but brutality. We like those silly women who like rough, horrible, nasty men who the more they abuse them, the more they want that kind of man. Come on, family.
Okay, I think you got a response right there.
Voilà comment ce monsieur voit l'Afrique, voit les Africains. Nous ne sommes pas des humains à ses yeux. Mais s'il y a bien un ingrat, c'est bien lui. Je pense que s'il n'est pas athée et qu'il prie, à chaque matin qu'il se réveille et qu'il prie, il devrait aussi prier les Africains.
Okay, what does he mean by that? He says if Macron was not atheist, if he was a praying person, every time he prays in the morning, he should pray Africans as well. What does he mean by that? He means it's because of Africans that France is France today. No.
If it wasn't for Africa, France would be nothing. If it wasn't for Africa, Britain would be nothing. If it wasn't for Africa, none of these European nations, none of these big shots would have anything today because they get everything they got came from us, came out of our soil. Their very life, when the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan began his talk earlier on, he talked about how we gave them their life. We gave them everything. Everything they got came from black people, see? And I like what Ibrahim Traoré was saying there because it reminds me of one of the things that Brother Malcolm X said when he was on the scene. Malcolm said to the white people, every day when you get out of your bed in the morning, the first thing you should do is get on your prayer mat and thank God that black people don't think like you. Because if we thought like you, all of you would be dead. See, if we had that vengeful, wicked, nasty attitude that these Europeans have, man, not one of them will be left alive on this planet, you see? And they capitalize on the fact that we are such a beautiful and good-hearted people, see? And they will abuse us to our face, and we will continue to go along with them. Dear family, I really want to, thank you for being with us this evening and bearing with us as we go through this breakdown. Stephen Brown says, please never use Candace Owen for a conscious reference. I'm glad that he said that, because you see what it is, brother Stephen, you know, truth is truth, regardless of where it comes from. I know that there's tremendous controversy around that sister. And you notice I use the language sister, because that's who she is. Just like these so-called African leaders, they're our brothers. And they are selling us out, and they're doing all kinds of evil against us. You see, a lot of our people, they're not necessarily where they ought to be. And sometimes they will say some stuff, man, which is just diabolical when it comes to us as a people. But sometimes they'll also tell the truth. And if they tell the truth, we can bear witness to the particular truth that they're telling in that particular circumstance. It don't mean, you know, this is where nuance comes in, and this is where we have to learn how to be able to discern. And we have to, you see, it's like, did you know that at a certain point in time, we will have to sit down and talk to our enemy? There's a time coming when we're going to negotiate with the enemy. I'm talking about we, not God, we, in terms of what we want. You see, like this, you know, we talk about reparations as Black people. It's not going to be osmosis or abracadabra. If they're going to pay reparations, if they're going to rectify the harm done to us, somebody's going to have to sit down and talk to Satan and tell him what our demands are, what we want. You see what's going on in Palestine right now? Somebody had to sit down and speak to the genocidal forces to bring about a ceasefire. So all I'm saying is, I understand what you're saying in terms of, you know, referencing our sister who in the past has said some very, very controversial things when it comes to her own Black people. But at the same time, there are many, many times that I've seen her where she said some things which are the absolute truth. And, you know, wherever truth comes from, we're not shy to point it out. And wherever lies come from, we're equally not shy to point that out as well. And so I hope you understand that's how we operate. If a white man speaks truth, we will bear witness. You see, it doesn't mean that that changes the other stuff that he may have done elsewhere or may be still doing in another reality. But, you know, when truth comes, we have to, as a people of truth, acknowledge it. That's all it is. And again, I don't even know the actual facts of that situation with Emmanuel Macron's wife, Brigitte. I'm just pointing the people who may be interested in that to where I've seen somebody who says that they've done research, that they've got evidence, that they've got receipts as it relates to that particular situation. And if they want to go and look at that, then they can go and look at that. It doesn't mean that I'm endorsing anything and everything that that sister says or does. No, like I said when I was playing the video earlier on, I don't necessarily agree with all of the commentary that was accompanying the images and the video, because, you know, so much of it is incorrect. It's not right. But, you know, the general thrust of the thing is what we were interested in. So, family, I hope that you got something from this evening. I pray that, you know, we have shed some light when it comes to the fact that the enemy is not just stealing from us as individuals in the way in which he's robbing us every day on the roads in this country, the highway robbery that's taking place with all the fines. Every time you drive there's a camera taking a picture and oh, you did this or you did that or you took a wrong turn or you were going 2 miles an hour over the speed limit, and it's just robbery. I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about a global conspiracy to rob God. And understand this, that you got people running around masquerading as us, taking our identity. That's why the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has done at least 3 lectures. Who are the real children of Israel? And he touched on it this evening in that lecture. Because we are the real children of Israel. See? And Israel is America, Britain, that little place over there in the Middle East, Germany, all of them constitute Israel. But they've got some children that they've got locked down in their bowels, that they are persecuted. And those children of Israel have to go free. That's us, family. Go ahead, Sister Claudia. I think you want to ask for a number.
Yeah, thank you very much, Brother Leo.
Speak to
We're going
Allah.
to come from the teachings book. If anyone can give me a number on the page. But there was something that I did want to read, what I thought was quite interesting. Somebody asked a question. Hollywood still seems to be thriving, in my opinion. Do you think that Hollywood's wealth will also be broken in the fall of America?
This is the question to the minister.
Yeah, and the minister said, it is being broken as we speak. Hollywood is where most movies were made, but movies are now being made in many cities and towns in America and outside of America, not in Hollywood. And there are other studios now coming up to make money. And then, of course, Hollywood gets something of it through distribution. But even Hollywood is not as rich as it once was. When a world comes down, everything in that world comes down.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hollywood is burning, family.
Absolutely.
Hollywood is in trouble.
Somebody said page 1.
Page 1, okay. Yeah. Eighth Electronics says 1. What's on 1?
Okay. The question is, how can it be proven that 75% of reform is with the woman, and how should we be held accountable? The Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan answers, as 3/4, 75% of the earth's surface is water, and all life comes up out of water. 3/4, 75% of the work of resurrecting the human being from the blinding touch of Satan is with the woman, out of whom all human life comes. Where there are no decent women, there are no decent men. This does put a heavy load on women, but not more than she is able to bear. The Bible teaches, a wise child maketh a glad father, but a foolish child is the heaviness of his mother. And Mary, the mother of Jesus, is the greatest example of purified womanhood. Every woman has the potential to be like Mary, to produce an offspring like Jesus, and to make a brand new civilization and a world that will have no end.
Beautiful. Isn't that a
Praise
beautiful
be to God.
answer?
Yeah.
And just on that, just to remind all the brothers and sisters, those of you who are, still in childbearing age, and you want to have a baby and you want to have a family, make sure that you check out and that you study how to give birth to a God.
That's right.
Because you can produce the kind of child that you want to produce,
That's right.
family.
Make a change.
It doesn't have to be hit and miss. It doesn't have to be no accident.
That's right.
You can produce a God
That's right.
from the womb of the woman.
That's right.
If you go about it according to the way in which we've been guided by the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as taught and exemplified by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Dear family, want to thank you.
Thank you.
And pray that you are all well, in good health. And we look forward, inshallah, God willing, to seeing you all again, same time, same place, next week on the Imagination Show.
Yes, and
Go
don't
ahead.
forget to tune in to the Final Call Radio, which is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't forget to, well, you can download the app on your phone, on your computer. As I said, there's no excuse for not hearing the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan today. Before, we used to have a video tape or a cassette. Now we can get it on our phones.
That's
or
right.
wherever we are. So share that with your family and friends, your work colleagues, wherever you are. Final Call Radio. Don't forget to tune in to NOI.org, where you can thousands of lectures from the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan,
Yes.
or any of the student ministers, and also subscribe to the Final Call newspaper, where this is the only newspaper that is uncompromised and unbought. So
That's right.
don't forget to subscribe to the Final Call newspaper. We thank you all for tuning in. We pray that Almighty God Allah guides and protects you all, especially during this dark time that we're living in. You know, it's dark times and we need the light. And the light today is the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So tune in to him wherever you can and feed yourself that knowledge and wisdom from Almighty God. May Almighty God Allah guide and protect you all. And thank you for tuning in. Have a blessed evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.